Hey guys, I'm going to show you how I was able to keep track of the frame rate within my render loop. Now it's important to keep track of your frame rate and have a 1 second ticker within your render loop, as opposed to having it on like a timer, Windows Forms control timer. You don't want to do that. It won't be as useful. We'll start off by showing you the members here. So I've got my frames. I'm keeping track of every frame that's rendered. And then I've got my elapsed time in milliseconds. And then of course I've got my frames per second here. And I'm going to go back down to the onPaint method, start from the top, sorry. First, after I'm done rendering, I'm going to assign the elapsed time, so the time it has taken to render in milliseconds, to the render time property. And I do this because I need to use this render time property for applying consistent animation speeds. Then after that, I'm simply adding the time it has taken to render the frame to the elapsed time. And the elapsed time member is just going to have an overall accumulation of time. Then down below here, I'm checking to see if the elapsed time is greater than 1000, because I'm keeping track of time in milliseconds, and 1000 milliseconds is equal to a second. Okay, and since a second has gone by, we might as well update the frames per second value. So I'm simply assigning frames, the amount of frames that have gone by since the last second, and we're assigning it to frames per second. And then we're going to set frames to 0 and elapsed time to 0. And make sure that on every onPaint you want to increment frames to keep track of your frame count. So like I said, it's nice to have this ticker within your render loop so that you can adjust the time. You can adjust it to, say, 100 milliseconds and perform operations every 100 milliseconds instead of every frame. And that's important for performance